friends from far and near. I had the good fortune, along with you all, to consecrate this temple day before yesterday to Sri Ram and install the image of Sri Ramakrishna here. This is the first bronze image in our temples. Till now, we used to have only marble images. And this is the first bronze image according to the Hindu Orthodox custom. From 3 years back, I had also the good fortune to lay the foundation for this temple, along with other noted people who laid the foundation for the Culture Institute and for the dispensary. On that day, particularly due to rain in the previous night, this ground was looking very deserted. There was a large plot of land, all filled up with water here and there. I am seeing this after 3 years, and there is a great metamorphosis. It has become such a beautiful place with so many beautiful buildings and a temple. All this within 3 years. This has been possible due to the cooperation of the government, the public, and lastly due to the dynamism of Swami Ranganathananda. It is called the Universal Temple of Sri Ramakrishna. Why this epithet universal? There are so many temples in India. Why should we say this particularly universal temple? In fact, all the temples of Sri Ramakrishna, wherever they are built, they are all universal temples. In this sense, that it is open to people of all religions. They can come and worship. Why? Ramji called him, you see, Sarva Dharma Swarupine. He was the embodiment of all religions. He not only realized God and gave proof of his existence by direct experience, which the scientific world was waiting for, but he also proved by the same method, direct method, that all religions lead to the same goal, to the realization of God. So that makes him as a symbol of all religions. He becomes, as it were, an ideal for all people of all religions. All of them come and worship here, but for that reason, they do not cease to be what they were before. A Hindu remains a Hindu, a Christian remains a Christian, a Muslim remains a Muslim, but only they find their ideals represented by the Swami and they find it own scriptures given in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. So this is, from that standpoint, a universal temple. There is another point also, from which standpoint it may be said to be an universal temple. Here are people from all sorts of nations, people from different nations, of different skin colors, of different state of society. Particularly in India, the Brahmana as well as the Shudra as well as the last untouchable as they call it ignorantly. All these people have free access to this temple. And from that aspect also, it is universal. So, these two points make this temple a universal temple. He gave another great teaching to the world, that these differences that we see amongst people, amongst races, amongst high and low, learned and poor and everybody, the same Atman exists. And so what we see behind is something, you see, unreal. Just as yesterday Mr. Ram showed us something unreal, the reality was only Ram. And here also we have or what we see, the differences, it is only superficial. But behind this, there is your Atman. From that standpoint, the whole of humanity is one. There has been talk going on in different parts of different countries of building the one world. But how to build the one world? What is the foundation for that? There are so many differences in the world. How are you going to have one world when there are so many differences? So Ramakrishna gave this idea that there is only Atman and all this superficial is Maya. So that standpoint, from the standpoint of the Atman, we can build the one world, making Atman the foundation stone, as it were, of the new one world. Otherwise, we do not have any common basis which could be made the foundation stone, as it were, of the one world for which we are trying. And again, he gave a new idea, which is solved the century-old difference between work and worship. All along, particularly we have been thinking that to realize God, we have to give up work and go to solitude and meditate on Him, so that our mind becomes steady in the meditation. Like an example given is a flame that burns steadily without flickering in a place where there is no breeze. It's only when the mind is steady like that, then that we are able to realize God. But work externalizes our mind, and so work has to be given up. But Sri Ramakrishna said, no, you need not give up work. You need not think like that. Because same God is there both in the transcendent and immanent aspect. So when you meditate on the transcendent aspect is alright, but the same God will worship in the immanent aspect. So all Jiva is Shiva. So help them, serve them, and that also will be worship. You are going to the temple and worshipping the deity which is stone image, and you have to prana pratishtha, that is by some ritualistic action you have to establish life in that image. But here are people going about, all of them, their known prana pratishtha necessary. God is already in them. Worship them by various methods, and you will realize God. So there is no need to give up earth. Particularly Swamiji took advantage of this to say, here is the thing for which I have been made how to rebuild India. You see, without giving up the cultural ideal, religious ideal. The religious ideal goes, if you go to work and your mind becomes actually externalized, then we lose the religious ideal. That means everything is gone. Even if we get a prosperous, wealthy India, without the religious ideal, without our cultural ideal, it is not worth having anything. So, he said, with this idea, we serve. We stick to our old ideal, cultural ideal, that moksha is our ultimate aim, God realization is the ultimate aim. But the method of approach was a new one. It helped us to go towards God realization, and at the same time it does good to the society. It's just like in our big factories, the main aim is to prepare steel, but there are so many byproducts which come in the way, which have got a value and which have got a demand in the market. But the main idea of the factory is not to prepare these side products, but to prepare steel. Similarly, in all our work, our ideal is to realize God through these people, through service to people. But as a side effect, how much good is done in education field, medical field, in relief field, and everywhere. So that is the idea. Swamiji found during his travels all over India, he had realized the condition of the masses, and he had found that unless these masses are raised, there is no hope for rebuilding India. When he went to the West, he also saw that though the countries were very, very wealthy, there were the poor who were crushed there. And he said that something is going to come out, some revolution from because of the poverty that was there amongst the masses, in spite of the wealth of the nation. He said, at that time there was talk also in the West about socialism, just the beginning, that was 80 years back. And Swamiji said when he came, you see, something like that is coming on the board, socialism. And he also said, I am a socialist. Not because socialism is a panacea for all our evils, but half a bread is better than no bread. So, why did he say this? Is it because socialism, when some large-hearted people in the West, when they saw the condition of the masses there, they tried to improve their condition. And the result was all this ism, socialism, communism, and all this. The intention was good to help the poor, to improve the material condition of the poor. So, and from that standpoint, it's a very good idea that, but Swamiji says, why did Swamiji remark like that, half a loaf is better than, because this socialism will not solve our problems. It will not solve our cultural problem. It will not solve our spiritual problem, because it is a product of the material civilization in the West, and it works only in the material plane. It doesn't rise this communism or socialism, whatever you say. They are only halfway houses. They don't go beyond the material plane. But we have to raise the masses, which have been neglected, both culturally, educationally, and spiritually. All this has been denied to them, not only material or economic conditions, but they have also been denied culture, education, and spiritual ideals which the higher caste kept to themselves. So Swamiji wanted that all these to be distributed and they must be raised. It's no good just giving some special reserved seats in the government or in the that is not. All the people have to be raised to the level. Swamiji particularly remarked, the work is not to bring the Brahmana down to the level of the Pariya, but to raise the Pariya to the Brahmin stage. That is the work. Any other method will only work, will make us weaker, and efficiency will not be there. So, that is what the work before us, and we have to do that. But the way that we are going nowadays, all over India, our selfishness is, no one think anything about it. Sometimes we get remarks in the papers, we see the national wealth has gone high by 3.5%, by 6%. But where has it gone? What is the condition of the poor? It is still worse. So we cannot take pride in raising this from this fact, unless the condition of the poor people is raised. So we have to work for them. And any other method, selfish methods which people are following, especially in the business, you see, by holding and by other methods, depriving the public, the general public and poor of the bare necessities of life. That is no good. That will only lead to a catastrophe. We may just say, and we are safe, like the ostrich policy like that, by putting the head under the sand. It thinks it is very safe. It's not. As the Swamiji said, we can bluff people, some people for all time, and all people for some time, but not all people for all time. So, we have been bluffing the lower classes for 1,000 years. And of course we had to suffer also. 1,000, because we neglect the masses, we too in a turn had to be undergo slavery under foreign nations, under foreign governments. At least now we must take the lesson to raise these people, to make them feel that they are also one with us in the nation, and to stand up for the nation. So that work has to be done. It is a vast thing. In this connection, I would like to tell you a story, not a fact, which happened in America. When Swamiji was in America, he was staying, very near him was staying a multi-millionaire. He used to hear about Swamiji's, and one day, without any notice, he came straight to Swamiji's house, and without giving any notice, he went straight to Swamiji's study. Swamiji was writing a letter, and with his head bent down, and they had some talk. And Swamiji told him, the wealth that you are earning is not yours. It belongs to the poor. You are only a trustee. Remember that. That man also was a very proud man. He did not like getting any advice from anybody. He left the room suddenly. But somehow this had some effect on the man. And after some time he came back and just put a check before Swamiji. Swamiji was also at that time writing a letter with his head low. And he put the check before him. Said, here you are. I hope you'll be very happy now. And you'll thank me. Swamiji, without raising his head, coolly replied, it is for you to thank me. So, I will just hold this story before the rich people of India and say, you, whatever you earn, you must use it, at least a greater portion of it, for raising the poor people. Otherwise, you see, if we think everything is all right, it's not all right. It cannot be all right. There will be a revolution. And we must remember, the Tsar is Russia in this connection. So, it is good, as Swamiji says, the aristocracy must dig its own grave. So that is what Swamiji says. That point must not be forgotten. So, when all the people, you see signs of the masses rising, if you don't go halfway and meet them and just help them to come up, there is a great tragedy in India. And that tragedy, maybe that all our culture and everything may go away. So it is time that we think seriously, not to raise the masses, bring them up physically, economically, culturally and spiritually. This should be done, and it must be the duty of everyone. You have, remember here, you have got what is called Gramasri, which has been started after the last famine work. That is doing so much work, excellent work among the poor people, helping them to come up economically. That one Gramasri is no good. There will be thousands and thousands of Gramasri working all over India. In that case only, we can have some hope of building a great nation. Ramakrishna came and gave us this spiritual ideal and also this ideal of service. And it was propagated by Swamiji all over India, not only all over India, all over the world. We have to follow them if we have to live and build a new India. Otherwise there is no hope. May Sri Ramakrishna, Swamiji and Holy Mother give us the right thinking and help us to do the right action at this time, so that it will be good not only for us, not only for India, but it will be good for the whole world. Thank you.